What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Friday edition of Upon Further Review. I'm your host, Phillip Jordan, in-studio host and producer. Doesn't was football on 96.9 The Legend, and Auburn writer for Last Word on college football. Got a fun show planned for you guys today. It's a little bit different on the guest side of things. We're gonna talk football, but not college football. We're gonna talk UFL. The UFL playoffs are this weekend, including the Birmingham Stallions, the defending two-time champions of the USFL, looking for the third straight spring football championship. And I'll be joined by a guy that is one of the hosts of the UFL podcast, Zach Keilman. He'll be on. We'll go about 30 minutes, kind of just talk a little bit about how the league has looked this year, the merged league between USFL and the XFL. Surprises with the All-UFL team, and we'll get into the big matchups, including, of course, Birmingham hosting Michigan on Saturday, hoping to reclaim the championship once again. Also, before we do that, we're going to look into some headlines in the sports world. And then at the end of the show, we'll close things up by looking at what to watch out for, what to watch, what to go see this weekend in sports. All right, we got quite a few interesting headlines that have happened over the last couple of days. Overall, in the world of sports, first up, we're going to go into the college football playoff schedule was released earlier in this week. We know the times, the TV networks, all that good stuff, where the games will be at. And we got it, if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, we have it up on the screen. The first round, we'll get the first game, one game on Friday, December 20th, 7 o'clock, ABC, ESPN. And then Saturday on the 21st, we get three games at 11 on TNT, also at 3 o'clock on TNT, and then at 7 o'clock, ABC and ESPN. Then we get into the quarterfinals. Now, that first round, of course, will be at the home campuses of the higher seeded team. The quarterfinals, Tuesday and Wednesday, the 31st of December and the 1st of January. One game on Tuesday, the 31st. On New Year's Eve, 6:30 ESPN. That will be the Fiesta Bowl. Then we'll kick things off on January 1st, Wednesday, once again at 12 o'clock Central Time on ESPN with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Then after that, at 4 o'clock will be the Rose Bowl. And then at 7:45 on Wednesday, January 1st at ESPN, you'll get the Sugar Bowl. Then the playoff semifinals, January 9th and 10th. They will be on separate days. Thursday, January 9th, 6:30 ESPN will be the Capital One Orange Bowl. And then Friday, January 10th at 6:30 will be on ESPN, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. And then the champion will be crowned on Monday, January 20th at 6:30 on ESPN. That will be in Atlanta, where they will play the national championship game. And, of course, with those first-round games on that Saturday, they will be going head-to-head with the NFL. So it'll be interesting looking at how the TV ratings go on that day. So college basketball news, I don't say college football, just so enthralled in football. College basketball news, Dan Hurley to the Lakers. I don't talk a lot of NBA here, really, hardly ever. We do talk hoops. It's usually in the college basketball round. While you see on the headlines on the screen, we're going to get into some NBA a little bit. It's the finals. We're going to talk about it. Okay. It's 2 weeks out of the year. But anyways, Dan Hurley to the Lakers. Of course, UConn head basketball coach Woj on ESPN reported on Thursday morning that the Lakers were targeting UConn's men's coach, Dan Hurley, as their next head coach. Of course, they fired Darvin Ham a few weeks ago after the conclusion of the season. Of course, he's won back-to-back national championships there with UConn, and they plan to escalate discussions in the coming days. Told players there at UConn, the Lakers had contacted him, but they're going to keep pushing forward, basically. And it does seem like LeBron is impressed with Hurley. And from the way they're wording this report, Woj is looking at a chance, or the Lakers in the Woj report looking at a chance with this development, a long-term plan, not just firing a coach every other year. Watch what the Lakers have been doing. And you look at Hurley, this is a big jump. NBA is a different game, but maybe not as different as you think just because of NIL and everything else. He went on the Dan Patrick show not too long after they won the national championship and talked about how coaching in college basketball is like coaching a G League team. So a lot of similarities now with the pros in college. And if you got to pay players, why don't you just go to the professionals? But it'll be very interesting to see how it goes there. Perhaps some SEC teams, Alabama, Auburn. Of course, if he leaves to go to the Lakers, players are going to be wanting to leave UConn and head elsewhere. More than likely, we all know how that's going to go. The Oklahoma Sooners win their fourth straight Women's College World Series on Thursday night by defeating Texas 8-4, sweeping the three-game series 2-0. Sydney Sanders hit a 3-run double in the bottom of the fourth. At that time, Oklahoma was down 2-3. That put them up 5-3 in the game. And then also game one of the NBA Finals was on Thursday night. The Boston Celtics took the game quite convincingly, 107-89. They had a 29-point lead at one point there in the first half. Now, in the third quarter, Dallas did make a run. They got within 8, but then Boston was able to pull away. The three-point shooting was big in the first half, 11-27 in the first half for Boston. They were 16-42 overall, so they cooled off there in the second half, 38% overall. Dallas in the game was 7-27. This also marked the return of big man Kristaps Porzingis for the Boston Celtics. He had missed the last 10 games. We hadn't seen him for like 5 weeks. He had 20 points and 6 rebounds in the game. He was in double figures there in the first half. And Jaylen Brown led the way for the Celtics with 22 points. Now, Luka Doncic, he had a good game, 30 points, but nothing of consequence from Kyrie Irving, who only had 12 points. If Dallas is going to win this series, especially if Porzingis is going to be a major factor, as he was in game one, they're going to need Kyrie Irving to bring his best game every night. We got to feel like Luka's going to bring his every night. They're going to have to get that from Kyrie Irving. Game 2 will be on Sunday night, 7 o'clock on ABC. All right, that's going to do it for headlines. We'll take a 1-minute break. But when we return, I will be joined by Zach Keilman of the UFL Podcast. We're going to talk to the United Football League playoffs right here on Upon Further Review on Wiregrass Daily News.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows. Like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits, 106.7 KMX, Today's Country, 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7. Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just the beginning.
Everybody, my featured guest today on this fantastic Friday, heading into the weekend strong. I'm joined by Zach Keilman. You can check him out on the UFL podcast where they talk all things UFL every single week. And Zach, I know we talked on another show of mine at the beginning of the year. That feels just like yesterday, but now here we are. We went through 10 weeks of the regular season. I believe you came on the week after the first week, and
Yes.
we're headed to the playoffs. It's down to 4. It really has flown by.
I know. And also I get to this time be prepared to bring you a much better looking me rather than me holding a phone camera up and trying to manage that. No, but it does feel like yesterday that we were just chatting about all this. And the 3 years now ish that I've done and where I'll follow along with the league and do a show and, just enjoy the football that comes with it, whether it's USFL or XFL in the last 3 seasons. It never seems to go or last long enough. We still got playoffs to go, of course, but it always feels like it's yesterday. But it's been good as always.
Yeah, I always feel the same way because, of course, down here I do high school football too, and you go about 11 weeks, and you're like, man, I'm really excited for this season. Then you blink your eyes, and boom, you're into the playoffs, and that's
Yeah.
where we're at now.
Hmm.
Just looking at this, it's been interesting. Obviously, the two leagues merged, before the year, kind of a short time frame. I think the guys in the with the league have mentioned that may not have, or that may have hurt them a little bit some ways. But just for you, what's been some things you think the league has gotten right this year?
Well, I mean, I think with the merge, we did want to see the best on best and better quality football, and they did nail it. That is no doubt about it. It's been, I know a lot of people compare the XFL from 2020 as kind of like the gold standard of what spring football should be, and I think it did match that standard for sure. I fully believe that we have found the right product where it is going to be something that I think people do want to tune into. It's good quality football, you know, more professionalism and less of the turnovers or miscues and mistakes in my eyes. And the playoffs, I think, are going to exemplify that. We did see the teaser of that last week that I thought was a really great promo to what you're going to expect with the recap. And I know it's a little hard to get people excited, sans maybe the XFL conference pre-match, if you call it, because of what was at stake to get excited for that. But still, it just kind of gets people, if you maybe tuned in, you're going there and going, well, they're playing again next week, and this was maybe they're holding back some things. Well, who knows what could happen? Michigan's playing really well. No matter who's got the quarterback back in, Mike Nolan's got them tuned in, and it shows. It shows that I think the league did play well. I think that for the sake of the network numbers for television, again, the merger proved that was definitely worth it. The two powerhouses in sports television that are Fox and are ESPN through Disney definitely showed those numbers were worth it. Regular season numbers ended at 816K, which is up from either one of the other leagues that existed over the last two seasons. Very good numbers, and when you consider it to the scope of sports in general. And I think that if we're talking did right, I think personally the did right would be really just kind of the social media engagement and kind of just setting the bedrock for what could be ahead for the next few years. I think, like I said, they picked and got a lot of stuff right with the exposure and kind of off-field content. I always love that stuff, seeing what the players do off the field, seeing what the league's doing off the field, kind of seeing the practice situations. But along with the bedrock, just you can kind of tell that, yes, they got the hub set up, but it's a good thing for them to kind of get going again and get them ahead into the future as the UFL. And I also want to say with that they did it right in terms of at least getting a season down where, this product and this brand definitely means something, and that they can kind of get both of those fan bases together and make them clash, but in a good way. I know early gone, I was, be honest, I thought there was a few animosities between the two brands with some of the fans, but I think it's become friendly competition. And that's what I really was happy with. I was worried it was going to be a little iffy in some of the communities with that, but it turned out to be really fun seeing kind of the interconference competition and whatnot being used to kind of hype up games. And, it worked out in their favor. To me, I'm very fascinated and very much enticed in the prospect of seeing what they can do now with a full season lead up, no middle ground of having to figure out what is next and what is going to be or not be in the league, as we were talking about, so that we can fix one of the key issues that I hate to end in this with, which is tickets. And that's the main thing I think a lot of people will get them slammed on. And I do fully believe that can be fixed as a silver lining to this segment, to just give you that. But I am enticed by what a full off-season lead-in can do for year two of this brand of spring football.
Yeah, that I wasn't really going to go there, but that is kind of the deal. You kind of look at it, the attendance, and that's, like I said, that can be fixed. I think Daryl Johnson has even said, the quick wrap up, you hard to sell season tickets
Yes.
but now you have a full off season. If you have the willpower, you can put people in those CDs, really promote stuff. A lot of other things obviously go on in these cities. You can be there and do stuff like that. So I know some people out there are doom and gloom with the attendance. That's, all they want to focus on, but that's a fixable problem. because the product on the field is really good. People are watching at home, and that's another thing. So, it's going to be fixed. I have full confidence they'll fix that.
Yeah, and they're getting the TV numbers. I think that's huge. And again, it was in a year where the UFL only existed since December. It's been in talks for months prior, but the real office did not have its own unified setup until the agreement was reached back in late December, if we all remember. So, again, get a full off season under our plate. We're going to have unified showcases and everything now, a full draft that's going to be UFL exclusive, no distribution and everything. There's a good future ahead. I really like what this league's doing. I think there is great potential in getting it on track in the areas that we do discuss in particular, which, again, you're right. Ticket sales discussion. I did bring this up, so this is on me for this, but
It's all good.
Ticket sales discussion, it is what it is. Give them the full season. That's what I've been saying. Give them full season. Give people adjusted and adapted to what the league wants to do with the ticket partnerships, which I think it's at least started some concrete level with the season ticket holder it has, and see what you do next year. Get into the summertime and get people engaged and continue to engage with your product, and you're going to go far, and that includes staying in the cities that they're in, which they've said they ain't going anywhere. And I do want to stress, I didn't want them going anywhere. I've seen a lot of that. You and I have seen a lot of that discussion as well. It ain't that time for that. That's a later time if we really want to go down that road. I don't want to talk about it because it's too early to talk about any quote unquote relocation.
Yeah, and both you and I, in the past, fans of, and I'm talking about not the current version, but the older Arena Football League, and that was always something that got on my nerves. Okay, we didn't do good here. Let's move the team out somewhere else. Stay somewhere, plant roots. Eventually, you will create that fan base in most situations that way. The All-UFL team was announced this week, and I'm sure you guys are going to get all into it. It is your podcast, and I am not going to say everybody should go subscribe and check out the UFL podcast. But anything stick out? Any kind of surprises with you with that? I mean, Michigan coming out with 7 teams. I guess we always assume the team with the best record kind of most players, but Michigan right there with 7 players.
Well, I think to me, it just kind of shows, and I think this is also why when we talk about kind of the off-season awards from what was announced as we're recording, Mike Nolan and Steve Kaiser and company, Marcel Belfay, put together quite the crew of cast members here for their squad. The turnaround's been impressive from year one in the USFL, and it's really shown. Defensively especially, Mike Nolan's fingerprints are all over the all-defensive team. I mean, you could tell. Obviously, Breland Speaks coming on. Really, honestly, second half of the season, he started shining, and that's how he's able to get to leading the league in sacks with 9.5. Daniel Weiss, I think, is deserving, although I think that the defensive line category was very competitive, to be honest with you. I also think that the edge rush category in ways was very competitive too. And I think there's going to be discussions about those that I'm definitely going to be having as we go down the line here into what is the rest of the reward season. Still got a few more of those going out there. I think to me, if we talk about surprises, not 100%, I would say anything that immediately sticks out. I know, for example, the tight end position was a big discussion point because I did see a lot of people that said, well, how is Sal Cannella not the tight end of the year with all the stat categories he's leading in, whereas Jay Sternberger, great tight end, just wasn't was a statistic juggernaut for the Stallions as he had been. Great yards per catch when he was needed, but keep in mind, Birmingham, tons of targets, and they also had Adrian Martinez, who was able to get plenty of rushing yards, as well as a decent rushing game behind him, and Ricky Persons or CJ Marable or Roundtree whenever they needed to. So I think that was another one that I think a lot of people have really kind of talked up as well. I did see Justin Hall. He thought that he was snubbed, and I was I love Justin Hall on the Roughnecks, but it was a hard receiving class, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Akeem Butler, David Davis, Marcus Sims, I think all of them are deserving. It's too bad Sims ended the regular season on the injured and had to kind of sit out the last few weeks, but he was on a tear. He was leading the league in receiving through mid-season and had been up in the top 5 all year. So maybe you have some discussions there, but nothing too crazy. I mean, beyond that, I think that the list is pretty damn solid. Not gonna lie, for what has been filled up, and yeah, I have no qualms for the most part. There's discussions. Maybe Sal Cannella is the one that I would have to sit back and kind of break down. I'm gonna do that again soon enough, but it's, I think, pretty good. You got any snubs?
Not, I get his side of it. I mean, because to me, I feel like, and we'll talk about this when we get into the matchups. Jace is really. There were games this year where it's like I didn't even know he was on the field.
Yeah,
and Sal Cannella, I feel like he was always making an impact when he's on the field. I think there's a difference because, and I mean, late in the year, I think Jay Sternberger has really come on late in the year, and I think him and Adrian Martinez has really created a good back and forth, a good rapport with each other. It's not the same as it was with Magoo. I mean, we knew where Magoo was going. If all else was fails, let's go find Jay Sternberger, but it hasn't been the same. But yeah, I'm kind of agreement probably with that one with Sal Cannella.
Yeah, Sal is definitely one that, like I said, most discussion around. One other one I do have to bring up, and it was actually, I was trying to make a point on this because I was surprised. Chris Odom, I do like the selection, but Malik Fisher not being on this list shocked me. And again, defensive edge. So, this is where we talk about stats, and I think sometimes we talk stats versus performance and on-play field, when we discuss all USFL. Keep in mind, Fisher finished second in sacks for the defenders on here, ahead of Chris Odom as well in this category. Not 100% sure what may have been the decision there, but Malik came on really strong second half of the season in particular. I was kind of surprised he was off this list, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and then, that kind of goes back. You merge these leagues, more competition, better, all the good players are in one spot. And you're looking at the playoffs. It's like we've got two teams in it that I think we all expected to be here from the season start, St. Louis and Birmingham. And then, especially with San Antonio, I mean, the power rankings, I mean, they were at the bottom when we got started. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, I was one of those people. And I had Memphis coming in second in the USFL because I just wasn't sure Michigan would quarterback. But I guess with Mike Nolan and his crew, doesn't matter who's starting quarterback, they're figuring out ways to get things done. Which of the two teams are you more surprised to see in the playoffs, though?
Well, I think Michigan is right up there, like easily. I'll be honest with you, the two you already mentioned, Michigan, San Antonio, right off the bat. I'm with you. I definitely was not on the San Antonio bandwagon to kick things off this season, without a doubt. I wasn't impressed. I thought there were some. I didn't believe the defense was capable in terms of the pieces that were there, and offensively, I didn't know enough about Chase Garbers really. And I thought that Quentin Dormady was going to win the job. I did like some. I mean, John Lovett. I knew about John Lovett easily, but I didn't have as much confidence or know as much about Anthony McFarland going in as I should have, which got proved very wrong about that. Of course, speedster, no doubt about it. But I think I should have leaned in with trusting DeAndre Kirkland and company, Smith as well on the outside. They're great receivers. And, of course, Cody Latimer was an excellent tight end when playing for the Guardians a year prior. I just didn't know about Garbers. And I think what happened is that A.J. Smith, being A.J. Smith, he made it work. They had a great quick pass, creative offense that, when needed to spell a run, they need to spell a run. And, they figured out opponents. They had a game plan for each week. They're the type of team that, it's about if we just hang in there enough, we can find a way to win. And they did it. They finished 7-3. Their only Achilles heel really being St. Louis and one of those DC matchups in DC. But really St. Louis, which is hilarious because you think about it, they were able to take down both top dogs in the USFL, but couldn't take down the Battlehawks. So credit, kick a field goal and make it with Santoso, or, if someone says that Donald De La Haye, a.k.a. Destroying, is in, maybe things change. But San Antonio, I think, if I had to pick between them and Michigan, they probably get that nod, even though I know Wade Phillips, even though I know A.J. Smith and his successors there. I got to give it to him. I had him dead last. I didn't trust him whatsoever. And that's even with me I take that back. I had him 7th. I did trust Houston, and that one kind of showed its face, to be honest with you. And I trusted Memphis a bit more, and I thought DC, even without Abram Smith, was still going to be competitive and was going to be the considered second contender in the XFL conference. I didn't think they'd win the conference. I thought they would finish second, maybe make it close in that regard with Arlington, and they would finish second. But here I am. I was completely wrong on that. I'm pleasantly surprised in Michigan, to be honest with you. I didn't think they would be second because Memphis on paper, as you and I know, impressive team on paper, but kind of something I hinted week one, and it kind of showed its ugly head. They were the most disappointing team to me week one, and they continue to be the most disappointing team up until what we call at UFL Podcast the Pooper Bowl for the last week of the season. You know, I still give the most disappointing nod though to them, just because of what could have been and what was on paper. Because Houston, I didn't, like I just told you, I didn't buy in. They were 8 for me. They finished 8. It was to me, it was pretty predictable. I thought maybe sometimes they showed some flashes, but predictability turned out to be true. Memphis, I just don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened here. And, you know, I guess that would be in terms of reverse success surprise, that'd be Memphis. Michigan, definitely pleasant surprise. San Antonio, absolutely. I mean, they crushed it. They basically told everyone to sit down and shut up on their opinion. And now they're going to be playing one game where they can win and be in the UFL championship for its inaugural season to say, hey, look at us now. Not bad for a last ranked team from many power rankings.
Yeah, and in this Michigan Birmingham match, look, Birmingham's 2-0 against them, but they came up to the wire. I mean, we saw it happen last week. 20-19, Birmingham wins. And the first half, I mean, Michigan outplayed them. I mean, Birmingham's defensively, both two teams are great defensively. Who would have thought we would have had a quarterback lead the league in rushing this year?
Right.
With Adrian Martinez? That still gets me. What's the impact here? Bryce Perkins, and he brought a different element at quarterback, that running ability, and it maybe could have gave Birmingham's defense some issues. But of course, they were going to go with Danny Etling, who's kind of up and down. Just how do you see the quarterback situation for Michigan with Danny Etling working in a full game against this Birmingham team?
Well, good news is Danny Etling's had starts, and he's been able to be successful with those starts. And so there's at least familiarity with Marcel Belfay, the offensive coordinator. That's to be the most important. You don't want to go into a game like this with someone brand new off the street or someone that's only had minimal time. Not to mention, and I think a big factor that is going to be talked about, and I'm definitely going to bring this up, is if stuff hits the fan, and I'm being reasonable here with my phrasing, they do have EJ Perry available. He was reactivated off IR. He is going to be ready and able for this game. And I imagine he will be the quarterback too here if needed. And remember, I mean, EJ was the guy that they started the season with. And sure, he was sporadic at times, but very mobile guy, likes to run, does have an arm that, he can rely on. And he's used to coming in a pitch situation. This was the type of situation last year he came into where he helped guide the Panthers to a berth in the playoffs in the USFL. So they do have an emergency in case of break glass type of thing if they need, even if Danny isn't performing. Now, with Etling, that being said, I do trust him for, again, several weeks in. You got that off throwing hand, getting healthier now. He does have a good rapport with receivers, and he's got Marcus Sims back, who he did have a good rapport with before Sims went out during the back half of the season, and before Etling also went out with a hand injury. So there is some good silver linings here. Hopefully they're going to get a little healthier. Matt Colburn did sit out last week, someone that did not hit the field. Huge part of the game plan that'll be for the Panthers. And I know that Birmingham has an excellent defensive run scheme, of course, now led by Dr. Blevins himself rather than John Chavis. And I hope he's doing okay, by the way. But there is going to be some wrinkles that were not in this last game that I think help in the favor of Danny Etling, to be told to see what happens, because I don't fully trust that Skip Holtz showed all his cards in week 10. But this will be a little bit different of a Panthers offense than what Birmingham faced in week 10. They will have to take into account some of these stars that were not available. And don't be surprised if EJ Perry sees the field if things aren't going a certain way, or if they are doing a last-ditch effort move in the fourth quarter.
I don't know about you, but the last couple of weeks with the offense with Birmingham, it just seems like they haven't been in their rhythm that they were in for most of the year. The last 2 weeks, I mean, and look, you're going up against two playoff teams too. San Antonio and Michigan are two really good teams, two teams that play really good defense. Adrian Martinez seems a little inconsistent. He's had some turnovers, some interceptions, some mistakes. Are you seeing that with this Birmingham team? And what kind of do you think you would like to see out of them in this game? Just kind of get back to what Birmingham Stallion fans are used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's going on the last few weeks is you're kind of getting, I would say, Adrian Martinez and company riled up. Now I'm going to preference this that they still are scary because hey, I get Stallions fans when we've talked about kinks. I mean, it's a 9-1 squad, so I can't be like saying, "Oh, it's doom and gloom. This is freaking ridiculous." No, this team is still absolutely deadly. All their health, all their main weapons are healthy and they're able. So there's no worries there, I would think, in what you can choose to go with or who you can run plays through. But I do think that they are starting to get limited in terms of, kind of seeing what Adrian Martinez can do in the passing game. Yes, he still is a viable option in the run offense, but I would say passing options have become more constricted, it feels like, but also I've seen receivers kind of been let down in times or have let down the offense in ways last few weeks. It hasn't been talked about as much, but two things that I have had with Birmingham that have kind of irked me over the season. One is defensive penalties have been kind of ridiculous at times throughout the year. Now, they've been talented and they've gotten away with it. It's a great defense, and they're able to kind of pick up the pieces and reset. But in particular, the last 2 weeks in the loss against San Antonio and the week prior against Michigan, there's been some costly penalties here or there on the defensive side that have really hurt them in stopping drives and getting them back on the field to kind of impose their will. Something that Birmingham did a great job with in the majority of the year is just kind of, hey, defense is really good. We go on war of attrition. Eventually, we're just going to beat you because we're more talented on offense. Well, if you start giving away free penalty yards and you have to allow teams to then say, oh, now we're neck and neck. Now I can, like Mike Nolan, now I can talk and we can send the blitz more. We can keep guys contained more. We don't have to worry about as much about playing back and playing safe. We can play a little more aggressive, and I think it's what San Antonio did as well. So I'm a little more concerned about, can you get your defense off the field, but also can receivers catch the ball on a regular rate and not have costly drops at random times. Deion Kane's had a few of these this year that they've gotten away with because others have been able to pick up the pieces, but it seems like the drops have, to me, picked up a little more in the last few weeks. It's a troubling trend, especially for a team that I think relies on a lot of their receivers kind of getting that first or second read and just getting some quick yards to kind of help move the chains a little bit more. I don't like seeing it. And if the run game can't get moving, which, Michigan is going to cue in on that. This is, we're talking the two top run teams in the league. Mike's defensive unit is no slouch on detecting that, and clearly shows when most of your all-USFL squad is Michigan Panthers defensive players. They're going to cue in on that, and then that will force them to realize that, hey, passing downs are going to be more likely, and they'll play it into their hands. Do I think it plays into them getting a win on the Michigan side? To be determined, but trends be told, got to clean up some sloppy play. I think that's the main thing. It's just not crisp execution. If they can get that down, I think that a lot of that stuff that has been problems from the last 2 weeks gets solved. I really do. It's really just execution, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, especially against San Antonio, and then even last week, not only came back and won, but still, there were some drops and some key drive killers. They were just, just basically what they were. The XFL side between San Antonio and St. Louis. Now, their game last week felt like a playoff game because home field was on the line. So it had both were really great games, but it just had a different feel to it than the other one did. I think you got to wonder, though, like a big question is going to be, what's the health of A.J. McCarron? He did not look like himself at times that game. I think it was 10 of 25 in the game, which of course no San Antonio. They've got quarterback questions going to this game as well. Talking about Quinn Dormady, will he be playing? I just say throw it to John Trey Kirkling and just see what happens there. But I'm not playing quarterback. what is the key factors in this matchup between these two teams?
Well, I do think you're going to be up until the very end of the week. You're going to be eyeballing what the quarterback situation is. I think in particular, San Antonio, we know McCarron's going to be in. The question will be health. So, did he get through last week as unscathed as possible to where he can come in this week and you hope to not have a close kind of shave, close call if need be. Now, I mean, a win's a win, so I'm not going to sit here and kind of nitpick a 1-point win like it's a loss, but certainly San Antonio, you get another time, it's another crack at it. You get a little bit more kind of film and game plan to kind of see what you could have done better in a 1-point affair. I mean, keep in mind, you get a 2-point conversion or you nail a field goal. This is a completely different story, and they're playing in San Antonio, Texas, and the vibe's a little different. But that being said, the Battlehawks, big thing, it's crowd noise. That home field advantage I'll always bring up when we talk about games with the Battlehawks. It's legit. It's going to get 30K, 1,000 people minimum in the Battle Dome, as we'll go. That is, or Dome America, whichever one you call. I like Battle Dome better. And it's going to be loud. It's going to be a hectic place to play, and it makes things hard. You're basically in a pseudo NFL atmosphere at that point. And I think for AJ Smith and company, yes, getting a little more acclimated 1 week later does help. It's the second time that the two have played, but the first time that season that these two have played in the Dome. So they get a second week in a row to go, okay, what could we have done better communication-wise? What could we have done better to kind of relay things a bit more? I think defensively, Wade Phillips and his crew, and Will Reed, they're not going to do – I think their game plan is going to stay pretty similar, to be honest with you, which is they know that McCarron is not as mobile in the pocket as he has been. Now, give a little more time, ankle's healthier, but I think they're going to keep that similar game plan, keep him contained, make him have to force to kind of be mobile when he doesn't want to be, and just kind of make him uncomfortable, which is what they did in their matchup last week. The thing is now, I think the bigger key factor is what can San Antonio do differently to not stay behind the sticks. They basically had the entire game where they were behind the 8 ball on the scoreboard all the way up until the final whistle where they had a shot to win at the end. I mean, credit plays right into the Brahmas game plan like I've told you all year, which is if we just stay close, we can look for a win at the end. But I think they need to find a little bit more establishment in the run game and get some of their players that are these big name players involved. Honestly, Morgan Ellison, I want to see a little bit more run game than I see with 11 carries, especially if you're going to have a particular QB problem. But that's not AJ Smith's game plan. If you go with Chase Garbers, are you able to push it down the field more? Quentin Dormady, to me, has a bigger arm, and they usually push it down the field more, a passing game, than I think they do with Chase. But Chase, to me, is, credit, 1 interception off a tip ball. He's the more reliable passer, and I'd rather have him in if he's available. Tough slope. I'm looking at the offense on San Antonio's side as really the deciding factor here. I think if things do not progress, if they do not make the correct adjustments from last week, and they can't get a game plan where they're keeping ahead of the 8 ball on first and second down like they have been fantastic at all season, that's the bread and butter of the A.J. Smith offense, is staying short of the chains after 2 downs, then I think we're going to get stuck with a similar situation as last week. Going to be defensive attrition, and I'm feeling Battlehawks right now, but it's been getting closer. And again, you give a guy like Smith 1 more week, maybe things change. Credit, you give a guy like Bruce Gatkowski, who's been great this year, another week, maybe things change too. It's how this works, and it's what's great about, I think, 2 back-to-back weeks. We don't know what's been held back either. I really do think the San Antonio pass attack is going to be the key make or break into what happens come this weekend, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And San Antonio stay away from turnovers. That was a big thing last week too. That hurt them early in that game with some turnovers, especially when they were moving the ball sometimes. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait this weekend. Can't wait the following week when we find out which 2 teams are going to be playing for the UFL championship. And Zach, it's been a lot of fun having you here on the show, breaking all things down UFL. If the listeners and viewers want to check it out, where can they find you and all the work you're doing?
Yeah, please follow me along on my work. I appreciate you having me on, by the way. Always glad to jump on for shows and talk. It's been a minute, but good to kind of catch up, reconcile a little, or recollect, not reconcile, recollect with you on the season. Jeez, my words are failing me right now. Anyway, stuff. Going to places, finding our content. You at UFL Podcast is where I'd recommend you go and check us out. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, we post up there, But in particular, if you're wanting the main videos, at UFL Podcast on YouTube is where you'll find all of our content, not only for the UFL Podcast, which next episode, of course, dropping this Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, always drops Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern when we do episodes in the regular season. But you can also find Around the UFL, which is our new venture that we started out this year, doing it Monday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, live on that same channel, where we're going to be recapping next week the championship series of games and kind of really ushering the beginnings of what will be championship week into everyone's mental zeitgeist here. So yeah, definitely get set and get ready for it. Check us out on those channels at Around the UFL as well, on social, everywhere, if you want to just do that when those go live. But find me and find us for all things UFL. We're gonna finish the season strong, and we're gonna get everybody hyped up and set for what should be, no matter what the matchup is personally, what should be a very thrilling end conclusion to a merged first year. I no matter what happens, no matter who's host, no matter who's going to be in St. Louis and who's going to be the two teams there, you're set for a great, thrilling ride. All four of these teams have played each other hard this year in their regular season matchups. I don't think you'll be disappointed either way, whoever makes it to the finish line to end it on June 16th.
Yeah, absolutely. We did, even though in the XFL, the 4-16 won it, we have a 9-1 team and 3 7-3 teams. So no controversies on. We do have the 4 best teams in the league. And Zach, once again, appreciate the time, and hope we can do this again sometime down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait.
Once again, thanks to Zach for coming on the show. And look, if you're not somebody that has watched the UFL this year, give it a look this weekend. These are the 4 best teams in the league playing it out. The USFL championship game between Birmingham and Michigan, and then you have St. Louis and San Antonio for the XFL. And then next week they'll meet for the championship. Let's look at what's going on this weekend that you can keep your eyes out for to check out. The Braves are having a weekend series with the Washington Nationals. On Friday, they'll play at 5:45, Saturday at 3:05, and Sunday at 12:35. Atlanta is 35-25 as of this recording. They're in second place behind the Philadelphia Phillies, 7.5 games back. As I just mentioned, the UFL playoffs. On Saturday, you'll have Michigan at Birmingham, 2 o'clock on ABC. On Sunday, San Antonio at St. Louis at 6 o'clock on Fox. The Men's College World Series is still ongoing. Super Regionals this weekend. So games of note: UConn at Florida State, Evansville at Tennessee on Friday. And series get started on Saturday. NC State at Georgia, Florida at Clemson, and Oregon State at Kentucky. Also, a couple other things. On Saturday night, if you're a hockey fan, I know we got a few here in this area. The Stanley Cup Final Game 1, 7 o'clock on ABC. That is Saturday. Sunday night, Game 2 of the NBA Finals at 7 on ABC. And for the people here in the Wiregrass, go check out Saturday night at Ripuse Stadium. Dothan United will host Asheville City Soccer Club, 7 o'clock, Ripuse Stadium. Go and check it out. And that's going to do it for this edition of Upon Further Review. We'll be back on Monday. I'll be joined by Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes. We are going to get into a lot of college football stuff. We will talk about the Ohio State quarterback situation. We will do buy or sell with Jay on some Big Ten teams. And we will do a college football playoff draft. We'll draft the 12 teams that we believe will be in the college football playoff. So a lot of fun stuff coming your way on Monday, and then next Wednesday we'll be previewing Arkansas, continue our series on that, and much, much more coming your way here on the show. Till next time, bye-bye.